Hello. Today we are going to talk about thyroid hormones. So most of the people are not coming this, though it's a repetition class, and it will be like a refreshing to you just before exams. We are telling all important topics again. It's an advantage for you if you listen once again. It doesn't mean that if you are, because it's already a finished topic, you should not listen the second time. You people are not having any seriousness. Roughly about 80-84 people have turned up. Just it's not for our sake we are telling, it's for your sake, for your examination, to see that you get through the examination and all. You people are not having any seriousness. If this is the situation, there will be a lot of failures will be there. Only 86 people out of 150 people turning out. Okay, it's up to you if you want. You are going to face the exam anyway. Within 2 months, you are going to face the exam. And once you turn up into the college, you'll be busy with the practicals and the records and the logbook and all. And you'll not have much time for reading. All three departments, logbook, you have to write, records you have to submit. And all these things will take a lot of time and you'll not have sufficient time to read. We are repeating the topics, important topics. We are feeling, so what is the difficulty in turning out? We are sitting at home. You are not traveling or doing anything. You are just sitting at home and you can't listen to the topics, sir. The parents should take interest to see that you people are sitting near the computer and listening all these things. It's not only teachers, but parents also should take interest. Anyway, you'll face the difficulty. If you don't, you are not serious, you'll face the difficulty. Yeah, as if it's only a one-sided teaching and you people don't pay any attention to what we are teaching. After you come here, we'll have a busy schedule of practicals and all these things. We'll have a busy schedule. No time for reading, sitting and reading theory. This is the best time to utilize. Anyway, it's up to you, and if your failure rate is more, we cannot do anything. Time and again, we have been warning and giving instructions and all these things. You people are not taking that seriously. Okay, anyway, it's up to you. You decide yourself. You and your parents sit together and decide whether to attend or not. Today, we are going to deal with the thyroid functions. Thyroid is a very important organ. And as you all know, it's an anatomical position. It is like in front of trachea. Two lobes, weight is almost about 20 grams. And its posterior side of a thyroid glands. It has a rich blood supply through thyrocervical arteries, approximately 4 to 6 ml per gram per minute. And it contains a number of follicles, approximately 3 million follicles. And each thyroid gland contains about 3 million follicles, and the diameter of each follicle is about 100 and 300, 100 to 300 micrometers, and each follicle in turn is lined by cuboidal cells. These cuboidal cells, the lining, these cuboidal cells, cuboidal cells are typical protein secreting glands, so they secrete protein into interior of the follicles. The cells of these cuboidal cells, they secrete protein into the interior of the thyroid follicles. And each follicle is filled in center with a material called a colloid. And the activity of the gland is very low. The epithelial cells, cuboidal, the epithelial cells surrounding the thyroid follicles are cuboidal, and the amount of colloid is great. But when the activity is high, they become columnar. They become columnar and the amount is reduced, colloid is reduced, and the activity is high. This colloid, a white material which is present in the follicle, has a glycoprotein known as thyroglobulin. Thyroglobulin is present inside the colloid. The colloid is secreted by the follicular cells of the thyroid, and the colloid has a glycoprotein molecule and this is also known as thyroglobulin. And within this, the thyroid hormones are stored. Thyroid hormones are stored. After the formation of thyroid hormones, it is stored within the colloid. Colloid is in the follicle. So once the secretions have entered the follicle, suppose they already T3, T4 has been formed in the follicle and it has been stored in the follicle, colloid substance of the follicle, thyroglobulin. Once it has stored, it comes back, it is absorbed back through the follicular epithelium. That is the lining of the thyroid follicle. It comes back and it is again released into the blood. Exotosis, that is, it is and released. Endocytosis, exocytosis we have, it is again released into the blood, and then from the blood it is attached to the albumin molecule, and then it is traveled through the blood. Now coming to the thyroglobulin present within the colloid, they have 70 thyrosin. Each thyroglobulin molecule has a 70 thyrosin amino acids in it. Each thyroglobulin molecule has a 70 thyrosin molecules. This thyrosin molecules combined with the iodine which is absorbed from the GIT, and they form the thyroid hormones within the thyroglobulin molecule itself. And this is the thyroid follicle. Thyroid follicle lined by cuboidal cells. When the activity site becomes columnar, and inside we have a white colloid material. Colloid wherein the thyroglobulin molecule, the protein molecule is present, and surrounding it we have the blood vessels. After the T3, T4 have been bound, and each thyroglobulin here each, after it has combined with the T3, T4, thyrosin molecule, after it has combined with iodine, it forms a monoiodothyrosin and diiodothyrosin, and after that it has to be released into the blood. And this epithelium and pseudoposes, like a pseudocytes, like a leg-like processes, and then it engulfs this molecule and it then releases into the blood, and from the blood it is carried to the other tissue parts. This thyroid hormone has both general and specific effects. Mainly it promotes growth during and the development of brain during fetal life, and also for the first few years of postnatal life. It's both general and specific effects on growth, important for the development of brain during fetal life and the first few years of postnatal life. Suppose the fetus, from the second trimester onwards, the fetus starts secreting thyroid hormone. If the fetus does not secrete sufficient quantity of thyroid hormone, what happens is growth and maturation of the brain before and after birth also it is greatly reduced. Therefore, from the second trimester onwards, the fetus starts in the intrauterine life itself, it starts secreting thyroid. Therefore, we have to diagnose immediately after birth. It's very important to see the T3, T4 and TSH levels, and we have to immediately start the treatment. Otherwise, the child will become a permanently mentally deficient throughout the life, and after once it has been mental deficiency has been established, we cannot cure the child. Therefore, early diagnosis is important. Therefore, it's advisable for every child immediately after birth to see that the T3, T4, TSH levels are analyzed. This, when a child is deficient of thyroid hormone, we call it as gratulism. Here, mainly the failure of growth occurs, mental growth and skeletal growth is also inhibited, but the tissue growth is not inhibited. When skeletal growth is inhibited, tissue growth is not inhibited. Therefore, the skeletal stops growing, but the tissue continues growing. and this gives a child hefty look. He appears to be obese and stocky, short and stocky, like obese, because the soft tissue is growing. The skeletal growth has been stopped. Then this we see the thyroid of Chinchinicha, we call it as retinism. We have a spotter for the exam. You have to identify the spotter and write a few points about it. Here is the spotter. Here, imbecile, mentally retarded. There's a shortness is there, but soft tissue has grown. Therefore, it's a hefty look will be there. This is a state of hyperthyroidism, exophthalmos, staring look, thin bed, staring look. This also we have a spotter. This is a state of hyperthyroidism. Basically, we have three hormones for thyroid: T4, T3, and this calcitonin. Thyroxine, T4, triiodothyronine, T3. T3 is more active than T4. But 97% secreted is T4, and only 7%, 93% is T4, only 7% is T3. But ultimately, the action is more rapid but short-lived. But ultimately, it reaches the tissue, the action start, the T4 is also converted into T3. And we have got another hormone, calcitonin. It is secreted by special cells known as parafollicular C cells. And these are present between the basement membrane and the epithelium, the lining of the follicle and the epithelium. That is basement membrane and the epithelium. And it has calcium lowering, lowers the calcium content, calcitonin. Yeah, as I've already said, 93% secreted is thyroxine. T4, and 27% is triiodothyronine, T3. They increase the metabolic rate of the body. Suppose there's a lack of thyroid hormone, the metabolic rate may fall to 40 to 50%. And if there's an excess, the metabolic rate rises to 60 to 100% the normal. And finally, though 93% is T4 and 7% is T3, ultimately, when before the action functional begins, T4 is also converted into T3. Only they differ in the rapidity and intensity of action. T3 is more active, 4 times more powerful than T4. T3 is more powerful than T4. Action is strong, but quantity is only 7%. There is only a smaller quantity is present in blood, and the duration is also short. Lifetime is also short. Whereas thyroxine has a strong affinity for the proteins, plasma proteins. Therefore, it lasts for a longer time. Here, it is a short duration. Now, coming to the thyroid cells, the main functions of the thyroid cells are to collect whatever iodine we are taking in the iodide form we are taking in the diet. It has to be, it is traveling in the, it is absorbed by the blood, JAT balls are absorbed by the blood, and when it comes near to the thyroid gland, in the blood near the thyroid gland, it collects the iodine. That is called trapping of the iodine. And then after trapping, iodinization occurs, iodine combines with the oxygen, forms iodide form is formed, and then thyroglobulin, it bonds to the thyrosin molecule present in the colloid, and the thyroglobulin molecule is formed, and this thyroglobulin molecule is kept in the colloid, stored in the colloid. It is only an oxidized form of iodine that can combine with thyrosin. Therefore, whatever iodine we are taking in the diet, it is iodized form, it is converted. And then only it can combine with the thyrosin molecules present in the colloid. Then they combine to form thyroglobulin, and in turn they are stored in the colloid. The third important function is to remove water. There is no point if the thyroid hormones are there in the thyroid only and it doesn't go to the peripheral parts of the tissues, and therefore we have to transport it to the tissues. First we have taken iodine in the diet, then when it has the blood vessels, it has entered the blood circulation, and when the circulation comes near the thyroid hormone, the iodine is trapped by the thyroid cells of the thyroid gland, and thereby it is immediately converted into oxidized form, and then it combines with the tyrosine, because only oxidized form can combine with tyrosine and forms the thyroglobulin molecule. Monoiodotyrosine and thyroglobulin, tyrosine and diiodotyrosine molecule, and it is stored in the colloid. It is secreted, that is stored in the colloid. Now here it has to reach the tissues. Therefore, again they have to be come to the periphery of the thyroid columnar cells of the thyroid gland, and they have to be released into the blood and enter into the surrounding the blood vessel. Therefore, these are the main functions: to collect, to synthesize, and to remove the colloid whatever has been formed in the, it is like a factory store, and it has been stored. Now it has to go to the peripheral parts where the need for this thyroid hormone is there. Therefore, it goes to the, it has been like just like a factory, and now it has gone to the peripheral parts. It has to enter into the blood again, because the blood is the main source of reaching all the peripheral parts. And then it has to be released into the circle. Therefore, these are the main functions of the thyroid. The minimum daily requirement is about 150 micrograms per adults. The terms, it begins to function from the midterm of fetal life. That is in the fetus is in the mother's womb, midterm, second trimester, midterm. Hence, iodine deficiency, suppose the mother is iodine deficient. If the mother is hypothyroid, it may affect the fetus. Fetus may also become hypothyroid. Therefore, for every pregnant ladies, we check for the T3, T4, TSH levels to see whether the mother is a normal, or whether she is suffering from hypothyroid state. Therefore, we have to check. This is a routine investigation for all pregnant ladies. The principal organs, the main organs that take up iodine from the diet, we are taking iodine in the diet. Therefore, if the main organs that traps the iodine that is traveling in the, from GAD, it goes to the absorbed by the intestinal walls, and it goes to the blood circulation. And the main organs in the body which trap this iodine is the thyroid. Kidney, it excretes excess thyroid in the urine. Other extrathyroidal, other glands which trap iodine, these are the, thyroid is the main gland. These are the extrathyroidal iodine trapping glands. These are salivary glands, gastric mucosa, placenta, ciliary body of eye, parietal plexus of eye, mammary gland. But the action when compared to the thyroid gland, its actions are weak when compared to the thyroid gland. That is, let us see a few steps. Iodide in the diet. We have taken about 150 micrograms per day of iodine, suppose. Now iodide is trapped from the blood. The blood is trapped. The blood that is surrounding the thyroid gland. It just traps the iodine that is present in the blood. Then, as I've already told, synthesis, it is then converted immediately into an oxidized form, and then it combines with the tyrosine in the thyroid gland. Therefore, thyroid hormone synthesis oxidized and combines with tyrosine molecule to form the T3, T4. Then this T3, T4 that is formed is stored in the thyroid gland for some times. It is bound to thyroglobulin. Here, it is bound to thyroglobulin, tyrosine molecule, diiodotyrosine, monoiodotyrosine, bound to thyroglobulin molecule. Now it is released to T3 from thyroid gland to blood cap. These are the main steps just now we have discussed. Now what happens is, suppose it has been released exocytosis, by process of exocytosis, it has been released into the blood. Then it has to be carried to the tissues. In the blood, T3, T4 molecules cannot travel alone. It has to bond to plasma proteins and mainly globulin. Therefore, it combines with the albumin and globulin is there. Therefore, it binds mainly to the globulin. Then it travels to the tissue and then it releases the thyroid hormones to the tissue. Then it is released slowly to the tissue. Because the plasma proteins attach strongly with the thyroxine molecules, therefore detachment is not very easy. Therefore, very slowly they return because the bonding between plasma proteins and thyroxine molecule is very strong. Then action of thyroid hormones on tissue starts. This thyroid hormone is again stored in the tissues intracellularly and then slowly, whenever the need arises, slowly it is taken into the is utilized for formation of the proteins. Daily requirement is 150 micrograms. And then whatever iodines we are observing, that is taking orally, absorbed in GAT and then go into the blood. Therefore, to prevent iodine deficiency, what has done the government of India is adding iodized salt. That is adding 1 part of sodium iodide to every 1 million part of sodium chloride. That is a National Goiter Control Program. Just because salt, everybody uses salt. Therefore, they are mixing it up in the salt. 1 part in 1 million part of sodium chloride. Therefore, they are missing sodium iodide. So that this is to prevent goiter. This is called as Government of India Goiter Control Program. Mostly all the excretion is more by the kidney. Out of the total support, we have taken about this 100 grams, 20 grams will be removed from the blood. That is only 1/5 amount is removed from the circulating. Suppose a lot of suppose some 100 units are going to the blood. 100 units of iodine is going to the blood. Only out of it, only 20% will be trapped from the blood by the cells of the thyroid gland, and this 20% is utilized. All the rest goes for a wastage. This thyroid secretion is mainly controlled by thyroid stimulating hormone, and this hormone in turn is secreted by anterior pituitary hormone, anterior pituitary gland. TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, which is secreted by anterior pituitary gland. This controls the release of thyroid hormones in almost every step. It also helps in the biosynthesis. Therefore, thyroid stimulating hormone is thyroid T3 T4 is controlled by thyroid stimulating hormone secreted by anterior pituitary. So the country is surrounded by sea and they take heavy quantity of fish. Therefore, here iodine deficiency is rare. Here, quantity of iodine they take because they eat a lot of sea fish. Suppose here in sub-Himalayan belt of India, Himalayas, it is far away from sea. Consumption of seafood is less here. Therefore, the iodine deficiency we see more commonly. Sub-Himalayan belt, Himalayan belt, there's a less amount of seafood. Therefore, iodine deficiency is more. Iodide from now, what are the various steps we have taken iodine in the diet? How is this iodine trapped? The first step is we have taken 150 micrograms, and this is traveling in the blood, and it has approached the thyroid gland in the blood, and out of it, 20% has to be trapped by the thyroid gland. Now, how is this trapping happen? This we call as iodide pump. That is pumping of iodine from the circulation into the thyroid gland, because they are not, this is the raw material they require to form T3 and T4. The raw material has been taken by us and is traveling in the blood and it is surrounding the thyroid gland. And out of the 100 units of thyroid raw material that is going, only 20% can be trapped, and this 20% this of it is time. This transport of iodine from the blood into the thyroid cells is called iodine trapping. This is given iodine trapping, also known as iodine pump. The basal membrane of thyroid cell is a specific ability. These cells are specially designed to pump iodine into the gland against electrochemical gradient. The basal membrane of the thyroid cell has a specific ability to pump iodine against electrochemical gradient. That is, though the particles inside are negative and the iodide in the cell is negative, then also it pumps. It's the iodide pumping, the iodide in a normal gland iodide pump concentrate the iodine to 30 times. That is, the concentration of iodide inside the thyroid gland is more in compared to the thyroid iodide present in outside, that is in the blood. Then also iodide trapping occurs. Therefore, it's in spite of chemical, therefore it is acting against in spite of this chemical gradient. That is intracellular iodide concentration higher than that present in the blood that flows. Then also it is pumping inside. Therefore, it is acting against a chemical gradient. Electrical interior of the follicles are negatively charged. Negatively charged. But in case of thyroid follicles, in the interior follicles are negatively charged. And outside is also negatively charged. But in case of thyroid, the iodide being negatively charged, they enter the cell. This is against electrical gradient. The iodide is also negatively charged, and the interior of the follicles are also negatively charged. Then also iodide trapping is occurring. Therefore, this is acting against electrochemical gradient. And therefore, since it's acting against electrochemical gradient, it needs energy. And this comes from breakdown of ATP. This comes from breakdown of ATP. That is sodium potassium ATP for iodide trapping. By this sodium potassium ATPase enzyme is necessary for this. Factors affecting trapping are sodium potassium ATPase enzymes is necessary. Supply of oxygen is necessary. Thyroid stimulating hormone TSH from anterior pituitary also facilitates iodide trapping. Autoregulation of thyroid gland. Autoregulation. If it is more, the trapping becomes less, and if it is less, the trapping becomes more. Salivary and also the other glands also have a little role in trapping the iodide. Therefore, these are some of the factors necessary. Oxygen, TSH, sodium potassium ATPase, autoregulation. And now coming to the trapping, we are trapped. Iodide trapping, iodide has been taken in the diet, then it has been trapped by the thyroid gland. Now, how the synthesis of the 3-4 occurs? Immediately after trapping, conversion to oxidized form occurs, because only oxidized form can combine with the tyrosine. Otherwise, the non-oxidized forms cannot combine. Within seconds, it's converted into oxidized form, and then it goes on and gets attached to the third position of tyrosine molecule. It gets attached to the third position of tyrosine molecule. This forms monoiodine tyrosine. Combines with tyrosine, combines with the iodine, and forms monoiodine tyrosine. The process of oxidation and binding of iodide ions is promoted by the enzyme peroxidase. For this reaction to occur, for the binding of iodine and tyrosine molecules and the formation of monoiodine tyrosine, enzyme thyroid peroxidase and water is oxidases and water is necessary. Enzyme thyroid peroxidases and water is necessary. Iodine is oxidized because oxidized form of iodine is only a better number. Therefore, after it has entered inside, the iodine is immediately converted into iodine form and combines with the tyrosine molecule to form monoiodine tyrosine. For all these things, energy is necessary, and this is brought about by the enzyme peroxidases and water. Now trapping is over. the formation of monoiodotyrosine is over. Now coupling. Now monoiodotyrosine has been formed. Here, the process of iodinization, that is iodinization of that is formation of monoiodotyrosine and the formation of thyroid hormone. How finally how we get T3 and T4. This all process is called organization of thyroglobulin or coupling reaction. It's also known as coupling reaction and also organization of thyroglobulin. Here, thyroglobulin is called organization. Thyroid stimulating hormone facilitates this process. The process of iodinization of tyrosine, formation of thyroid hormone, all these things are called coupling reaction or augmentation of thyroid globulin, short notes. And this process is facilitated by thyroid stimulating hormone anti-repetitive. Drugs like phenylthyroxine inhibits augmentation. That's it, it's an anti-thyroid phenylthyroxine. When diiodotyrosine is found and two monoiodotyrosine molecules coupled together, they form one molecule of diiodotyrosine. When diiodotyrosine combines with one molecule of monoiodotyrosine, triiodotyrosine is formed. When two molecules of diiodotyrosine combines with two molecules of another diiodotyrosine, T4 is formed. All this process is known as coupling reaction. Coupling requires oxidation and presence of peroxidase enzyme. Here we are about two theories. This is intramolecular theory and intermolecular theory. This coupling reaction is based on two theories, inter and intramolecular theory. The coupling is facilitated by this all we have discussed. Peroxidase enzyme and PSH. And it is opposed by thyroglobulin. Synthesis, this thyroglobulin which is present in the thyroid follicle, is the follicular cells of the thyroid gland. This thyroglobulin, inside thyroglobulin only tyrosine molecules are present. And this follicular cells of thyroid gland synthesize this thyroid gland. They have two subunits of polypeptide chains. And there, in each subunit of subunit, there are two subunits of polypeptide chain. In subunit, there are several tyrosine molecules. Therefore, the tyrosine molecules are present in here. The follicular cells of thyroid gland, they are present in the thyroglobulin. Thyroglobulin in turn is secreted by the follicular cells of the thyroid. The follicular cells of the thyroid secrete thyroglobulin. Inside thyroglobulin, we have got several tyrosine molecules. But you have to remember, thyroglobulin is secreted by follicular cells. Follicular cells are inside each thyroglobulin there are tyrosine, and this tyrosine combines with the iodine molecules and to form monoiodotyrosine or diiodotyrosine, and they in turn combine with each other to form triiodotyrosine and thyroxine molecules. About 3/4 of the iodinate tyrosine means iodinated acid. Oxidized iodine combines with tyrosine, iodinated tyrosine. They never become T3T4, but they remain as monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine. About 3/4, that is only 1/4 of the amount of monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine combined together to form T3 and T4. That is coupling reaction. Coupling reaction occurs only in 1/4 of the iodinated tyrosine, and therefore remains as only 1/4. The rest 3/4 remains as it is, but it doesn't go to as a waste. It is again, but again the iodine and tyrosine molecules are separated by an enzyme known as deiodinate enzyme. Deiodinate enzyme is present there, and whatever is not converted into T3 and T4, again they are deiodinated by this, and then again they are deutilized. Therefore, all the iodine that is combining with tyrosine and to form monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine does not become T3 and T4. Again, only about 1/4 of it becomes T3, T4. The rest 3/4 is again acted on by deiodinate enzyme, and then again iodine and calcium molecules are separated, but they are reutilized. Again, they are utilized. Therefore, deficiency doesn't happen. Therefore, recycling is there for additional thyroid hormone. Suppose there are some cases that they may not be this deiodinase enzyme. Therefore, there's every chance of the people becoming iodine deficient because this recycling process is not there. Therefore, absence of deiodinase enzyme may lead to iodine deficiency because of failure of recycling. Storage. Now, once the T3 and thiodotyrosine and tyrosine have been formed, now they are formed from the tyrosine. They remain as a part of the thyroglobulin molecule. The tyrosine is present in the thyroglobulin molecule, and they have iodine as combined with tyrosine. And therefore, monoiodotyrosine and diiodotyrosine have been formed. And now inside of it, the coupling reactions also occur. And then everything is there in the thyroglobulin. Therefore, afterwards also, after the formation of T3, T4 also, they are stored there in the follicular colli. They are stored in the colli. Thyroglobulin is present in the follicular colli. Thyroglobulin is secreted by the cells of the thyroid follicle. Therefore, this is everything is present inside the follicle. In the follicular colli, they are stored. Now, if it is stored, it is not sufficient. It has to be supplied. Go to the supplying part. It has a specific function to perform, and it has to supply to other agents. Therefore, it has to be separated from here, they have to be removed from here, and they have to be released from here, and they have again enter into the blood. Therefore, they can reach the tissues. You cannot afford them to keep in the thyroid for lifelong without going anywhere. We don't need that much thyroid hormone stored in the thyroid gland. These have to be to different parts or different tissues to perform their duties. Therefore, the process occurs like this. The apical surface of the thyroid cells and pseudopodia extensions, leg-like extensions into the thyroid gland, leg-like extensions into the thyroid gland, pseudopodia-like extensions into the interior of the gland, and they enclose around a small portion of the colloid. Inside the colloid only the T3, T4 form, whichever form are stored. Therefore, they enclose around a small portion of the colloid. Leg-like projection cells inside the gland, and they include inside a small portion of the colloid. In the colloid, there is already formed T3, T4 are there, and they form the pinocytic vesicle. Now, what happens? The adult thyroglobulin now, the pseudopodia extensions they surround the thyroglobulin molecule. They surround all. Now, what happens? They surround and form a ball-like thing, and now what happens? Lysosomes enter now. Lysosomes of the follicular cells enter, and they digest. Then whatever the lysosomes are there in the follicular cells, they form digestive vesicles, and they digest the enzymes from the lysosomes. They digest contain digestive enzymes from the lysosome. They digest the cell wall. Therefore, this is subjected to. And when there's a digestion of this thing, it brings to the edge and it digests. It brings the pinocytic vesicle to the edge of the gland, and then it digests. When the digestion occurs, there's a gap in the pinocytic vesicles, and T3 and T4 are released. And then this T3 and T4, then what happens? They diffuse to the base of the thyroid cell. And since the thyroid cells are surrounded by blood vessels, and then diffuse into the capillaries, and they enter into the blood. I hope you have understood. What happens is that podocytes, that is leg-like extensions. Podocytes, those are leg-like extensions. They come from the edge of the membrane of the follicular cells of the membrane of the gland. The thyroid cells, the membrane of the thyroid cell, that forms a pseudopodia extension. They close around the a small portion of the thyroglobulin molecule, and inside it there are T3, T4. Then the lysosomes come and attack and they digest, and then T3, T4 release. The T3, T4 enter the pathway of the cells, and since they are surrounded by capillaries, they break up in the cell walls and they diffuse into the surrounding capillary. Now what happens next few days, certain T4 is deiodinated. That is, my main action is T3 is more active, more potent, but short-lived. Therefore, even though T4 is 93% and T3 is secreted in 7%, during next few days, slowly T4 is also converted into T3. Therefore, what we see is the hormone finally delivered to the tissue is mainly T3. Approximately about 35 micrograms of T3 is delivered and used by the tissues. The reverse T3 is also found by mistake because it gets attached, one of the thyroxines of the thyroxine form, it gets attached to the wrong position here. The reverse T3, another 35 micrograms of so-called reverse T3 is found. That is from the wrong, they get attached to the wrong position. That is they get attached to the carboxylane instead of hydroxylane. Therefore, this reverse T3 form. This is totally naturally inactive and it is fine. Transport of thyroxine. On entering the blood, what happens? Almost 99% of T3 and T4 immediately they combine with plasma proteins in the blood, mainly globulin. The pre-albumin and all very little amount, but mainly it combines with globulin. Because in free form they cannot travel. They have to be attached with the plasma proteins in the blood. They have a high affinity. The plasma proteins have a high affinity for thyroid hormone. They get strongly attached. Particularly with thyroxine, there's a strong bonding when compared to the T3. Within for every 6 hours, half the thyroxine that has been bound to the plasma proteins, globulin, is released every 6 hours. 50% of the thyroxine is released. Here, this has a lower affinity. T3 has a lower affinity for plasma protein. Therefore, every 1 hour it releases. It has a strong affinity. Therefore, delays them. Only after 6 hours, 50% is released. Here, every 1 hour, a small amount is released. And when the blood enters, entering from the blood, they enter into the tissue cells. Again, after entering into the tissue cells, again they bind with the intracellular proteins in the tissues. Again, the thyroxine, again there's a binding with the proteins in the tissues. They entering the target tissues, and again inside also they get bounded with the proteins. The thyroxine binds more strongly. Again, there's a affinity is more for thyroxine than compared to T3. Therefore, thyroxine binds more strongly than T3 because of its greater affinity. And now here again there's a storage in the functional tissues themselves, and they are slowly utilized over a period of days or weeks depending upon the industry. Therefore, every year the thyroid they are stored again in the blood. They are traveling to the attached to the globulin. Again they are going to the tissues. Again in the tissue cells, again they are stored and again they are slowly released as and when required. Suppose you give an injection of large quantity of thyroxine, there's no immediate effect. And there's no effect for 2 or 3 days. There's a long latency period. There's a long latent period before actual action begins. Immediately there will not be any action. At least it takes 2 to 3 days. Once activity begins, what happens? It progressively increases and reaches a maximum 10 to 12 days and increases for 6 weeks to 2 months. There are no immediate action, but when action starts, it slowly increases intended dullness. Again, thereby decreases and the slow action for 6 weeks to 2 months. The amount stored in the thyroid follicles is sufficient for 2 to 3 months. Therefore, for 2 to 3 months, even if there's a deficiency, it will not be manifested clinically because whatever storage is there in the thyroid hormone in the follicles, it is sufficient for 2 to 3 months. Functions are mainly on the 3 groups: growth and development, and metabolic functions, and individual systems. The physically, skeletal growth, muscular growth, emotional growth, sexual growth, mental growth. Suppose in a tub full of tadpoles, if you put this thyroxine, the metamorphosis occurs quickly. It clearly shows that there is an effect on growth. The skeletal growth is manifested very clearly. There will be a shortage. The child will be short. So sexual growth will also, infantile sex organs will not be developed properly. Reproductive functioning bad. Mental growth, as I've already told, is imbecile idea if the child is not diagnosed early. Neonatal growth and development thyroid hormone is necessary in the growth hormone tissues. Therefore, deficiency of thyroid hormone before puberty if it occurs is growth retardation. And after puberty if it occurs, already growth will be completed. Therefore, we don't see much of the growth retardation. The brain, we have seen development of brain during fetal life is very important. First, especially first few years. Otherwise, a child may become imbecile. Brain, development of brain, birth before and after birth is very important. The child should be diagnosed early and it should be given immediate treatment within days or weeks. Otherwise, the child will remain mentally retarded for the rest of his life. In children, hypothyroid child is growth retardation. Suppose there's an excessive thyroid hormone, the child may become considerably taller also. And what happens is the bones mature more rapidly and emphasis closes earlier. Therefore, what closes at an earlier. So duration of growth is also rapid and also height also closes early. Therefore, sometimes you cannot see actual shortage because growth is rapid and at the same time growth is stopped also early. Therefore, we may not see sometimes shortage. Effect of thyroid hormone and carbohydrate increases all aspects. Gluconeogenesis, glycolysis, increased rate of absorption, increased insulin secretion. See, thyroxine is injected and how this kind of increase fat, increased fat metabolism, oxidation of free fatty acids. Suppose in hypothyroid state, cholesterol is decreased, phospholipids is decreased, triglycerides is decreased, but free fatty acids are increased. There is a decreased myxedema, hypothyroidism. In this, it's an opposite effect. Cholesterol, phospholipids, triglycerides always increase. Prolonged hypothyroidism may cause severe arteriosclerosis due to increase of all these things. Phospholipids, cholesterol, triglycerides may cause severe arteriosclerosis and prolonged hypothyroidism in myxedema cases. Protein synthesis, at the same time, protein destruction is also increased. Relative vitamin deficiency. Relative because actual deficiency may not be there, but thyroid hormone increases actions of many enzymes. And therefore, because vitamins are also essential parts of these enzymes, whatever normal vitamins are there, it may not be sufficient. Therefore, we call it as relative vitamin deficiency. Basal metabolic rate increased to 60 to 50%. Hyperthyroid state decreases body weight, whereas hypothyroid state increases body weight. These changes may not be noticed as markedly because increased thyroid hormone also increases subtype, and this may overbalance the change. Cardiovascular increased flow, especially in the skin, because of increased need of elimination of hair, increased cardiac output, increased heart rate. Very important sign, increased heart rate in hyperthyroidism. Heart rate is a very sensitive sign of hyperthyroidism. One has to look for a heart rate increase in hyperthyroidism. But when the thyroid hormone levels are increased abnormally, the heart muscle strength, the pumping strength of the heart, contractility becomes depressed because there is already also simultaneously protein destruction. In severely thyrotoxic patients, there will be an increased load on heart. And this may ultimately lead to myocardial failure and death. When there is increased load, the heart may not be able to pump properly. Respiration may increase, gastrointestinal motility may increase, secretion may increase, and this may result in diarrhea and increased thyroid states. In hypothyroid state, extreme nervousness might psychoneurotic tendencies, anxieties, extreme worry, hypothyroid state. Muscles increase of thyroid hormone makes muscle react with a slight increase may be active, but excessive increase may cause weakness. Excessive protein catabolism also will be like slight increase or action may be increased. Suppose there's a less amount of thyroid hormone, muscles may become sluggish, and their reflexes may be slowed down. Tremors, excess may cause spine tremors. This is because of neuronal synapses becoming more overexcitability of neuronal synapses. Other differential diagnosis of tremors is nervousness, anemia. Sleep. In hyperthyroid state, it is difficult to sleep because of increased neuronal synapse excitability. In hypothyroid, the person may sleep for 10 to 14 hours. Sexual functions, inability to perform that, lack of interest in sex, irregularities in menstruation, menorrhagia, excessive bleeding. The mitochondrial size as well as number may increase. The rate of formation of ATP increases. This ATP increases because another cells has to be energy. That is, the cells have to be supplied with energy. Active transport ion, sodium, potassium, ATPase increases, and this in turn causes the rate of transport of both sodium and potassium to the cell membrane, increases the rate of transport. And this in turn increases the heat produced in the body, and this in turn increases BMI. Transcription of large number of genes, increase in functional activity throughout the body. And this major number of action is through T3 only. Only 10% is through T4, the action of thyroid hormone. But though T4 is more formation of T4 is more, it is ultimately converted into T3. Okay, with this we stop on class today. Thank you.